For decades, science brushed it off as mystical fiction. But now, Harvard, MIT, and the University of Wisconsin have peer-reviewed studies confirming it. Spiritual awakening is real. And yet, according to Darius, most people are still completely unprepared for what it actually means.
In this video, we're diving into the latest neuroscience behind awakening, the hidden psychological risks no one talks about, and the controversial role of technology in speeding or sabotaging the process. And trust me, that last topic might be the most important one to truly understand the whole picture.
Picture your brain as a city. During awakening, half the lights go out and strange new streets suddenly appear. It's beautiful, it's terrifying, and it changes everything you thought you knew about yourself.
So before we begin unraveling the science, the risks, and the real meaning of awakening, hit that like button and subscribe. And stay with us until the end, because once you hear all three pieces of the puzzle, you'll never see awakening the same way again.
Neuroscience didn't change its mind overnight. It took decades of scanning brains, tracking electrical patterns, and, reluctantly, listening to the outliers. One of the turning points came from Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin, who studied Tibetan monks in deep meditation.
Their brains lit up with an unusual burst of gamma waves, the kind associated with peak awareness and integration across different brain regions. It wasn't a small spike, it was sustained, powerful, and unlike anything seen in ordinary states of consciousness.
MRI scans revealed structural changes too. Thicker prefrontal cortexes, improved connectivity, and a level of neuroplasticity that suggested the brain was literally rewiring itself.
And here's the twist. Similar patterns started showing up in EEG readings of people claiming spontaneous awakening experiences. Not monks, not lifelong meditators, but ordinary people with extraordinary brain activity.
Sounds inspiring, right? But here's what those scans don't show: the inner turbulence, the confusion, and the darker side of awakening. And that's exactly where Darius steps in. So what exactly is awakening? Neuroscientists might describe it as a radical shift in brain network dynamics, particularly in the default mode network, the system tied to self-referential thinking. In plain English, it's like the voice in your head suddenly stops talking.
Spiritually, people describe it as a moment of pure presence, a sense of being without the constant narration. Sounds peaceful, until you realize that losing that inner voice also means losing the identity you've been rehearsing your entire life.
Take the story of a woman who, after a deep emotional trauma, began noticing details no one else could see. Subtle patterns in sound, flickers and light, even the emotional states of people around her. Her sensory tests confirmed it. Her perception had expanded beyond the norm.
Neuroscience would say her default mode network had gone offline. The problem? When that off switch happens too soon, it can feel like the ground beneath your life has been pulled away.
And here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes there is no easy way back, which is why Darius warns that chasing awakening without preparation is like running into a storm because you saw a rainbow. Darius has a way of cutting through the romanticism around awakening. He says, awakening isn't about light and peace, it's about dying before you die. Not exactly the kind of quote you'd find on a coffee mug.
What he means is that the self you've built, your identity, your story, your familiar patterns, gets dismantled. And if you're not ready, that dismantling can feel less like enlightenment and more like a psychological freefall.
Psychiatrist Stanislav Grof called it a spiritual emergency. It's when the door to expanded awareness swings wide open and you realize you have no idea how to live in this new reality.
One young seeker we spoke to tried to force the process. Long retreats, intense breathing sessions, anything to push his mind beyond its limits. He got the breakthrough he wanted. And then he couldn't sleep for weeks, couldn't connect with friends, and felt like a stranger in his own life.
And yet, people keep trying to accelerate awakening, even using experimental technologies that, frankly, the scientists themselves don't fully understand. In the past, awakening was pursued through meditation, fasting, solitude, slow, deliberate paths. Today, some are trying to shortcut the process with technology.
Devices like transcranial stimulation and advanced neurofeedback are being used to nudge the brain into altered states. And then there's Michael Persinger's infamous God helmet, designed to trigger mystical sensations using magnetic fields.
Early studies show they can produce moments of deep insight or expanded perception. But here's the catch. Those moments don't always integrate well into daily life. It's like installing new software on your computer without checking if the hardware can handle it.
Darius says it's tempting to think you can hack awakening, but warns that shortcuts often skip the preparation that makes the change sustainable. In his words, you might get the view from the mountaintop, but you won't have the legs to stand there.
And that's why the way you approach awakening matters even more than how quickly you get there. Which brings us to how Darius determines if someone is actually ready. Darius doesn't ask how long you've meditated or how many retreats you've done. Instead, he looks for 3 signs, and none of them are about how spiritual you appear.
First, emotional stability in the middle of chaos. Can you stay centered when everything familiar starts to collapse?
Second, the ability to observe without judgment. Not just in meditation, but when someone challenges you, offends you, or completely misunderstands you.
And third, the absence of a craving for external validation. Because if you still need the world to approve of your awakening, it's not really awakening.
To make it real for you, imagine this. You're in a room where everyone is arguing, blaming, projecting. Your name comes up, and they get it wrong. Do you feel the urge to jump in and defend yourself? Or can you sit in stillness and let it pass?
If you couldn't resist, you're not alone. Most people can't. But that's exactly why Darius says awakening without preparation is like opening a door you can't close.
So, now you've seen the science, the risks, and the preparation behind awakening. Neuroscience confirms it's real. But the real question is, are you ready for it?
If you had to take Darius's 3-part test right now, which part would challenge you the most? Emotional stability? Observing without judgment? Letting go of external approval? Tell us in the comments, and be honest.
And if this made you rethink what awakening really is, hit that like button. It tells us this kind of deep dive matters to you, and it helps YouTube show it to others who might be right on the edge of their own awakening.
Share this video with someone you feel is ready, or maybe with someone who thinks they're ready. It might be the conversation they didn't know they needed.
And if you're ready to go deeper, we've got 2 more videos waiting for you. One explores the hidden dangers of spiritual technology. The other reveals the inner architecture of awakening.
Click on one of them now, and let's keep walking this path together. Your awakening might not start with light, but with the courage to see the whole truth.